I have to admit, I understand the president's speech tonight, and I'm very proud of the president and his speech tonight. And let me elaborate on that. And I remember the new Black Voices us talking about having to go with an agenda, even if we disagree with some things about an individual or a leader or a overseer, which is the president of the United States of America, who was elected as president. The President Donald Trump ran his campaign on an agenda, and that agenda was to drain the swamp. And when we view draining the swamp, we have to realize we have been conditioned. We have been conditioned, and we may not know exactly what that means, but I knew what it meant. And I voted Democrat for a long time because I came from the nature of that political atmosphere where, the family is voting Democrat and being a slave descendant and thinking that the party leans to your benefits because of the benign and neglect of them saying what they're going to do for you, pretty much finessing the minds of the people after something happened that was great at one point of time, and then using you as a voter and basically as a peon. The president's agenda and the president's, his whole intellectually is to be pro-American, and I'm pro-American. I have to admit, I am pro-American. I've been like that a long time. I like the fact that I can have access to things in my society and be that which I am in greatness. Not to mention that I understand what America is. This is the first world nation. And it came through a lot of suffering, a lot of hardship, a lot of pain, but yet it became the world's greatest empire. Throughout whatever suffering, blood, sacrifice of slave descendants, we had slaves in the country. There were slaves in the country, and they were my ancestors. I'm not going to say unfortunately, because that's just the history of things. I don't regret slavery. What I do is I regret the element of it and what actually happened during slavery and what happened after it, the fact that we have to correct ourselves politically. Now, I understand that the president, Donald Trump, is a white man, and he's not a black man, and he doesn't know every issue that points to us. We have to have a political agenda ourselves and unite in terms of being a unit. So therefore, we rectified in importance. Our system have denied. The United States government have basically been a part of anchoring us around a space where we have not really reciprocated the loyalty of government. That's not the president's fault. However, he can be the first initiative to start correcting. And I think one of those initiatives is removing people off our tax dollars, removing people outside of our opportunities in the process of us being anchored unfairly. And these are things that we can come on to and have a mindset to practice due diligence in terms of how we really exist. And I think that's what happened. We've been talking about it for years. It's not nothing new. We've been making laws and different things of that sort. But to be pro-American and to be pro-family is to protect your own first. And this is the way it should be. It should be that. Especially when you've come to realize that you've been exploited. And not only by the history of things, which was a beginner for us, and that's the powers that be. But now we're dealing with a new world thing almost, where there's a lot of people involved in our society wrongfully exchanging against us as a people. And I don't mean just slave descendants. I mean us as American citizens. But first it's us, because we were always the ones without capital and without access to any kind of power. So therefore, other groups, when they join this, they can also exploit the slave descendants. Well, the president, his aim is not just correcting the slave descendants. I see that. I know that. And a lot of us won't. We know how urgent it is that it happens for us, and we know how immoral it is in terms of righting things wrong and actually implementing the law in that situation. However, the president of the United States understands that it's not just us anymore getting harmed in terms of the society being manipulated by something they try to basically gain from, and that's illegal immigration. And it's a big problem, big problem. And it makes people point to more endeavors concerning us as American citizens. We can zero into us with the whole passion we need and not be divided by concerns of people from other nations that are actually disrespecting our integrity. Integrity. And the president made a good speech tonight, and I'm proud of him, and that's my president. I don't have nothing against people who necessarily vote Democrat, but I do want them to wake up and not be blind to agenda and not follow the masses in terms of what people are saying. They need to do diligence in terms of looking at things and really looking at politics. This is the way we need to go. So the Democratic Party has been a failure in this one. And I appreciate the president, Donald Trump. I appreciate the president, and I know that the president is draining the swamp, and I know that the swamp is not black Americans being in the country that are natives. It may be the things that we have been conditioned to do in our communities that we have been conditioned to do, and that's pretty much crime, just kind of eating the failure and just shucking and jiving and kind of like being a part of a underclass or broken class throughout exploitation. But there's no longer that we have really zero tolerance. There's no more tolerance for that on any playing field, whether it be us getting reparations or whether it be us correcting ourselves in terms of actions. We have to do it. When you've been abused by somebody, you go to counseling. You can't wallow in that. So we have to also correct ourselves in terms of what happened. It's not the president's fault, but he can be a voice and he can be a leader. And from what he already done, I appreciate the America First. I appreciate Mega Country. This is who we are. We're one, America. And we need to be that. And we need to work on ourselves and exchange rightfully among each other and not be exploited, because that's very dangerous. That's very, very dangerous. But anyway, I just want to say I'm glad the president spoke tonight. And as far as I'm concerned, it's a good notion that he had a balance and a moral compass in terms of his speaking. And hopefully it can be put into action. Thank you for joining me.